The RPG Maker General Podcast, or the rpgmgp. Listener beware, you're in for a scare.
Welcome to the RPG Maker General Podcast, or the rpgmgp, your one-stop shop for everything RPG Maker. This is Cody, aka Marpix, and with me today are the Red Mage.
Hello again.
Carbonic.
It's that pumpkin-y time of year.
And from Tumblr's RPG Maker Dev Network, Roselle.
Hello.
Hey there. Oh my god, so tons of news because we've had such a long break. Nintendo just recently announced a Nintendo Switch, so that was their whole plan with the NX. It's not a tablet, it's not a console, it's not a handheld, it's all three at once, and I think they're trying to do too much with this thing. Like, nobody is going to use a controller that's 3 inches long. I swear to God, it's not going to happen.
You missed the chance to put in a great Chad Warden quote right there. And this controller, the Wii, that controller looked like a dildo. I ain't playing no games with no dildo. So Cody, in general, you think it's shit, absolute shit, right?
That's a less diplomatic way of putting it. Yes, but
Come on, you gotta put some energy into it. Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one. I'm not saying it's the best thing ever either, at all. I'm definitely skeptical of it, but it could have been worse. The Nintendo NX could have been revealed to be a new line of phones. I think that could be worse. A new line of tablets, because no one really knew where they were going with it or what it was going to be. But I am skeptical of the whole design. Like in the trailer, they show them breaking off the sides of the controller and making them into separate controllers, and I think there's just way too many pieces for one controller. Overall, I think Nintendo's kind of having the same problem that they always do, where they think of some like cool little features that most people are never going to use, and I'm fine with cool little features that no one's ever going to use, but they tend to make it the main focus of the console, so you can't really ignore it. Like they did it with the Wii U and the Wii.
yeah,
where
with the
it's
motion
like
controls.
Yeah, motion controls are required. They're not like a cool little thing on the side.
That's why I never finished Skyward Sword.
yeah. Or you look at like Star Fox Zero, where they forced the Wii U pad aiming into the game.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
No,
What do you think is so shit about it, though?
I mean, personally, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it's a neat idea. Granted, I use my Wii and my Wii U literally as emulation machines, though. So I'm not really one to talk. Because literally the games that I've got for the Wii U are Smash, and then the NES remixes, and then just a whole bunch of games, like from NES and Super NES and that kind of thing on my Wii U. That's literally all I have. So for me, if I can do that on the go, I'm cool with it. I don't know how much it's going to be. I don't know if they put out a price point yet, but I'm alright with it. We'll see what happens, especially if they get more third-party backing. That will help so much, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, indeed, because they've pulled that third-party meme twice in a row now. They said, oh, the Wii U, we're really going to help the third parties. We're really going to get the third parties in here. We're going to make it easy. Mm-hmm. And they're saying the exact same thing about the Switch, and I haven't heard of like a single damn game that's actually coming out. I think Nintendo has done what Microsoft did for the Xbox 360, because it uses HD DVDs. They're saying, hey, please make movies for HD DVD. We will pay you a shit ton of money to make our format relevant, and then once the money runs out, so do the companies.
Mm-hmm.
They were showing off Skyrim a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of a misled thing to do. Like, yeah, check out this top-of-the-line new console. It can play 5-year-old games. Like games from half a decade ago.
That's not even the best part. The best part is that when Bethesda was asked about Skyrim, they said, we cannot confirm nor deny. We're going to have some sort of exciting product lined up. So Skyrim may not even run on this damn thing.
Yep. I mean, I will say it was a lot better than the Wii U reveal trailer. Do you guys remember it at all?
Vaguely, I was incredibly unimpressed. That's all I really remember about it.
My favorite part was, this never occurred because it was a stupid idea to begin with, was, there's this part where they're like, aim with the new controller, and they have, like, you know that Wii gun that came out a couple years before for the Wii?
Mm-hmm.
But they have, like, the Wii U's gamepad, like, inside it. And it's just, like, really obtrusive and stupid looking. I felt they were a lot smarter by making this look a lot less just childlike. They had no kids playing it, but then they had some weird situations in the trailer, like, oh, you're playing Mario by yourself? Come to this nice rooftop party. You know, the kinds of thing that most people who play Mario by themselves do.
Right.
Yeah, come crash our party with your single-player game.
Or there was the part where it's like some guys were like at some little basketball court underneath a bridge, and they're playing basketball, and they're like, let's take a break from playing basketball so we can play some basketball on the new Nintendo Switch.
Because that's a thing
Overall,
that happens.
Anyways, Roselle, do you have any thoughts on it?
No, I'm not really a console gamer, so I haven't really considered anything like that, getting it.
I'm not thinking of getting it. I'll wait until 3 years after it comes out.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen here, too.
I think Nintendo, to their credit, have made a large leap, which is very unlike them. They've actually done something bold and taken... They've done something that no other game company has thought to do with, you know, making one console for everywhere, you know, on the go and multiplayer and all this. They're trying to have their cake and eat it, too.
Yep.
I think that because of this leap into being bold and modern, it may bite them a little bit because there's no USB ports and there's no LAN. So every internet connection is going to be Wi-Fi. So online play is going to be less reliable than it could be. And if you want to connect anything to the Switch, it has to be through Nintendo's dedicated hardware authentication process, and it's going to slide onto the side of this fucking tablet.
Yep. I mean, I don't know. Oh, I thought the dumbest thing about the trailer, and I don't know. I'm also cautiously optimistic about it. Is that square controller that they had? You know, it was like it wasn't the gamepad thing, and it wasn't the normal controller, but it was like the weird square thing the guy's holding.
Yeah.
It looks uncomfortable and dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't I can't disagree there. That's a pretty good summarization of it.
Dude, having two fun-size Hershey bars as your controller doesn't look ergonomic either.
Well, then again, that's what the Wii was. I think it was okay. Do any of you own a Wii U?
Yeah, I do. Wii U. Like I said, it's just an emulation machine, so I don't do a whole lot with it.
The controller is the gamepad thing, tablet-looking thing, is a lot more comfortable than it actually looks.
Yeah.
But it's still not the greatest controller. We should move on.
Yeah. We've been on Nintendo for a little while, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Off of Nintendo, back to Nintendo, Pokemon Sun and Moon?
All right. Before we even start the segment, has anyone in this room played the demo for Sun and Moon?
No.
No.
Oh.
Next subject.
Yeah. I think Team Skull looks pretty fun. I think they're not going to be the bad guys.
I wish Nintendo would stop trying to make even the enemies more family-friendly. Because, you know, back in the day, you hated your rival. You hated Team Rocket. Now these guys, they're all just the lovable little curmudgeons.
No, Cody, have you been reading the subtext and looking into the shit about, like, fucking Aether Corporation or whatever it is?
No.
There's just... So basically, everyone's thinking that, like you said, Team Skull is way too fun and stuff. People are thinking they're going to be like a red herring because, like, they also revealed they're like, oh, this is the this is the Aether Foundation. They're super nice people. They're super duper nice people. And then they also revealed these kind of monsters that aren't Pokemon that look exactly like the lead heads of the Aether Corporation. But like mutated.
Spooky.
So people are thinking that the Team Skull is just going to be a little thing to trip you up.
Right. I mean, and we really need to not, because I don't know anything about Sun and Moon, but I know that's going to be a lot of throwback to the original, and the whole scene with Bill where he combines himself with the Pokemon by accident. Come on, throwbacks. It's there now.
Oh,
He
shit.
doesn't. He was just in a costume, wasn't he?
No, in both the remake and the original, he like wasn't like in a matter swapper or some shit. I don't.
Basically, did like a fly.
You're right.
Yeah.
In the original, like, his teleporter messed up, and he got turned into a Pokemon, then you had to, like, revert him.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And the Pokemon was nowhere to be seen afterwards, so, you know.
Got vaporized. Anyways.
Anyway.
Anyway. The 3-week break has given us a lot of new Yanfly tips and tricks. The one I wanted to highlight is the combo that it came up with a week or so ago, Memento Mori and Dark Zone. So basically, you cast Memento Mori, and it's a dark spell, and it does dark damage or whatever, but there are two after effects that are very important. One, it boosts your magic attack by insane levels, and two, you place Doom on yourself. And then, there's a second dark spell called Dark Zone, which normally deals dark damage to all the enemies, whatever. But if you have Doom placed on you, it does even more damage.
It's, I don't know what spells or what game those originally came from, but they are in Final Fantasy Record Keeper, which I play way too much of, and that combo is absolutely ridiculous in that game. So, I'm for it, because that's really cool.
Yeah, that's exactly where Yanfly took it from, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Hell yeah. And kind of opens up the idea too for other stuff if you're afflicted by poison or whatever other status effect that you can get different effects too. I imagine from it just by looking at the code and pulling it apart and putting it back together.
Yeah, I like that in Pokemon too, where there's an attack where if your opponent is poisoned and you use this poison type attack, they take even more damage if they're already poisoned. It's a nice way to use status effects without them just being, oh, you're paralyzed, you may not attack, boo-hoo, whatever.
Right. Yeah, and because there's the smelling salts, which if they're paralyzed, you can hit them with it. They stop being paralyzed, but it does like double damage. So there's a lot of cool interactions like that have with status effects.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the next evolution in RPGs is, because status effects have had this weird niche area where they haven't really changed much in the past 20, 30 years, but
Yeah.
we don't know what to do with them otherwise.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Because I remember having one idea at one point where, like, hitting enemies with, like, the water spells makes them, drenched, so electrical spells do more damage against them, fire spells do less damage, and I'm just kind of like, this is a lot of work. I didn't actually go through with it, but the idea was there, and the idea was cool. But I think you're right, though. I think that's probably where side effects are going to have to go, because as they stand now, it's just, there's not anything to them.
Yeah. Do you think maybe in the future there'd be a game where you could, fight a fire-type enemy, but then you cast a spell that makes them weak to fire, and then you kill a fire enemy with a fire spell?
I'm trying to think. I know there's a game that's like that. I'm trying to remember what it is, but there's like levels where it's like absorb null, half, normal, and then you can actually lower their defense from absorb all the way down to normal, and you can deal damage to them, even though they are that type. Just a big slap in the face.
I think Diablo 2 works like that.
Oh yeah, that I don't think that's what I was thinking of, but yeah, it does.
Let's see here. Also, Yanfly, apparently he's moving into scripted content because his little robotic buddy Harold has betrayed the party and is now trying to kill Yanfly and Flying Dream with their own tips and tricks. Oh no!
What? I must have missed that one. That sounds awful and also kind of funny.
Hey, everyone out there. I wanted to say all of the RPG makers are currently on sale.
Oh yeah.
Until the
Yeah.
24th.
So this piece of news will be completely useless pretty soon, but to our regular listeners on rpgmg, go get them. They're all on sale. Don't get VX, though. Okay, wait. I'm looking at it. The sale price for VX Ace is $6.99, and the sale price for VX is $29.99.
Yeah, they're trying to incentivize people to not buy it, probably.
Yeah.
Why do they even have it on there?
For completion's sake, I guess. Same reason I've got 2K3 on there.
But no, because people like to use 2K3 still. Like, no one likes to use VX anymore, because it's just a worse VX Ace.
Yeah, that's true.
Carb, I have all 8 seasons of the original Who's Line on my computer. You wanna know why I have season 7 and 8? It's not because they're all that good.
I don't need your shit right now, Cody.
I don't need yours either. You're broadcasting live from an Oculus Rift.
Yeah, I'm currently recording into an Oculus Rift right now because my microphone is missing.
Oh god. Yeah, but if you missed this sale, which you probably will because we're releasing this podcast on the 26th, get ready for Black Friday and Christmas because they're going to put it on sale again.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
We'll get there. So today we're talking about spooky horror games, because Halloween, as you know, is coming up once a year. We all participate in the Great Skeleton War and cast Hocus Pocus and what have you. The horror genre has a very unique place in both film and video games because it's a special type of person that wants to enjoy it. Almost always with horror games and horror films, they are the exception to the rule of the hero has to win. The hero has to succeed and get the girl and save the day and all these things. Horror games and horror films usually project powerlessness and fear. And I think that horror games have been evolving. You know, they've been getting better at portraying that kind of stuff through things that aren't just tank-like controls, you know, back in the Resident Evil days.
Those are bad days. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, and these aren't really RPG Maker oriented, but then you've got stuff that are, I think they're all indie games though, so it's close enough. You've got the Dead by Daylight game that came out recently. Not really a scary game. Like, it's kind of horror themed. Doesn't have it. And then you've got this really horribly programmed game called Damned, which is absolutely terrifying to play. It's a pain in the ass to play. So.
And half the fun is being worried that the game's going to crash before you save it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've been busier than I would have liked, but I did play one RPG Maker horror game over the past 2 weeks, and that was Ebe. And I gotta tell you, I've done so much RPG Maker that I know how they did everything in Ebe, but it still fascinates me how well they did everything. The execution is top notch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 'Cause I remember the first time when I was playing it, which was after my wife had played it, so I kind of already knew a lot of like the little things that were gonna happen, but I missed the scene like where the hands at first start coming out of the wall. Like, again, I know exactly how they did it, and I know exactly like how I would do it if I was making the game, just with having the on touch events. But just like when it happened, I was like, oh shit, oh shit.
Yeah, I love that too, because a little bit later in the game, you find a slip of paper on the ground, and it says, as soon as you forget, and then I'm like, huh, I had already been conditioned to walk down the middle of the corridors, and sure enough, a hand right out of the side, I'm like, I knew it, I fucking knew it. God. Also,
I've never played Eve before. Would you actually classify it as a horror game, or just kind of a spooky game.
I'd call it horror.
Yeah, I would call it a horror game, I would say, because you also have like a life bar in the form of a flower, which is a really just neat aesthetic effect. And as you take damage from stuff on the overworld, and the flower slowly wilts or loses petals or something.
Yeah. They don't quite explain that because you get damaged and the flower wilts, or the flower wilts and you get damaged for magical reasons. It's weird.
Yeah.
Fucking, where was I going with that? Yeah, no, Eve is great, and, you know, you only have 5 health. You start with 3, and you can have up to 5, and because everything, you know, it really portrays that powerlessness, because you can only get hit so many times, and once you're screwed in that game, you're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have absolutely... And my favorite part is you have no way to fight back. At all. You gotta run, you gotta dodge, you gotta avoid, and that's really all you got.
Yeah. And the AI is pretty simple, but I think that works in the game's favor because, you know, it's a horror game. You don't need to have it be complicated. You don't need to outsmart and frustrate your players. Like,
Right.
There's the headless statues. Like, you're in a maze and you have to find a switch. And 2 of the headless statues are set to move towards you slowly, and 1 is set to random. So you can bait 2 of them into going where you want them to go, but the third one will always be an X factor and could potentially be a thorn in your side. And then there's the women that jump out of the paintings and like crawl along the floor.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
You made a video a couple days back where you were like making fun of it. So you're like, oh, it's not scary. like was that real, or were you bullshitting?
Well, I knew that Eve was a good game. Like, I knew that it was one of the upper echelon RPG Maker games, but the whole point of that preview video was for me to act like a generic YouTuber, you know?
Okay.
That was it. That's all it was. Like, oh my god, I don't know what's going on, you guys, and I'm reading the thing, and there's a question mark in the flower, and I don't know.
Markiplier's in here.
Oh, don't say that. I don't want.
God. Yeah, no, what I think makes Eve a true horror game is not just the jump scares and all the spooky stuff. It also has the right atmosphere. It uses a rather quiet musical score and loud, sharp sound effects, so you're always left at a state of unease. And then you also have the story, because when you meet the third party member, Mary, you find out that she was actually a painting herself, and when she finds out she's a painting, then she tries to kill you.
Yep. Yeah. That was a pretty good reveal. Like, when it shows up, because when I was first watching my wife play it, like, when you meet the dude, and I'm like, okay, I guess there's another person here. I guess that makes sense, because you can't just play the whole game by yourself. Well, when the third person showed up, I'm like, all right, now, there's something about that girl. Like, just right from when she showed up, she's like, no, she's just a girl. I'm like, I don't think that she's just a girl. and then she wasn't.
Yeah.
But one thing you brought up in there that I think is really, really important, especially for horror games, is the music and the sound effects, because that's like one of the most immersive aspects for it. And without that kind of thing, you do not get as invested in the game as you would otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it hits you on an instinctual level. Like, your brain can't help but try and process it.
Right. And it works. It works very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm more into, when it comes to RPG Maker games, and I know there are other people like me, but I might come off as pretentious. I'm more into the kind of surreal horror type stuff. Like, some people wouldn't consider Yume Nikki a horror game, but I like to. In a way, it definitely has some aspects of it. And it never has any jump scares, nothing pops out and goes boo. And you're not... There's one part where you're chased by something, but it's not super scary. It usually relies on making you feel really uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of the songs are really short and really droning. There's not many actual songs throughout the game. It's usually just ambience and weird sound effects in the background.
Interesting.
Mixed in with the screams of the realistic screams of the people you stab.
Great!
Yeah, the whole thing of that and like other Yume Nikki clones, at least the first is one that I think is the only one that I've actually played of the clones. But just the whole thing is that it's not really any kind of just direct in your face horror. It's just the whole thing is just that it's just really weird. It just makes you feel very just like this is not what you expect when you play a game, and that alone combined with usually the weird palettes, the weird sound effects, everything it feels wrong while you're playing it, and it works really well.
Yeah.
As far as comparisons go, would this be like, because the only connection I can draw would be like anime, would it be like Serial Experiments Lane or Paranoia Agent with just kind of how unnerving it is?
I'd say even maybe a bit more surreal than Lane. Lane's really surreal, I guess, but there's sort of a story progression to it, whereas Yume Nikki and its and the people who copy it are just kind of wandering through a bunch of disconnected things that kind of possibly connect together to say something.
Yeah, I would say I mean, it kind of is in that same aspect. I would almost put it more towards like later on in Paprika, more than Paranoia Agent.
Yeah.
Both great shows. Or even if anybody's seen it, Technolize. That show is just fucking weird from start to finish. Just in watching that kind of stuff and playing this kind of stuff, it just like you're waiting for something. Like almost more to happen, and then nothing does ever. So
yeah,
they're real good.
Although there is Yume Tuki, the fan-made sequel to Yume Nikki, which was made by like a dev team of like 100 different people getting together.
Yowza.
Yeah, and that actually does have a lot more like true horror stuff in it, like a lot more scary stuff.
So Yume Nikki doesn't really have like an overarching kind of theme. You're just wandering through different worlds and stuff happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Whereas Eve is like art gallery, spooky stuff. Who lives, who dies? Are you going to set the painting on fire or not?
Right. Yeah, there's much more of like a I guess a coherent plot and stuff. And even like Lisa the First, everything was still kind of disconnected, but there was still like a goal in it. So it's kind of like a weird hybrid between the two, I guess. Even though the per usual for Ding-a-Ling, it was really dark and disturbing because that's what he does.
Yeah. I mean, there's sort of the argument that like Yume Nikki is also about like the mind of a rape victim, but Lisa the First is way more in your face about it.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely ham-fisted, which is part of the reason why, even though I still enjoy it, not as much as Yume Nikki, because it's too in your face and it's too ham-fisted.
Yeah, it feels. I mean, the thing is, Lisa the Painful has like a completely different identity from Yume Nikki.
Yes.
Lisa the First, it feels like Austin was almost too big a fan of Yume Nikki. And just tried to make it again.
Right.
But a lot smaller. But yeah, it was his first game, so I'll forgive him on that.
Yeah, no, I was gonna bring up. I don't know if anybody, because it was free for a while. I don't know if it's still free on Steam, but there's a game that was put out by the same people who did some other game we were talking about a while ago. But it's called Close Your Eyes was the name of the game. The same people who did Take the Dream 9, because I think we talked about that.
It's still free.
Podcast. Oh, is it? Okay.
It's
So
by Aesthetic Gamer, a guy called Aesthetic Gamer.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not gonna say this is a good game. I'm gonna start with that. It's not bad, and it does a lot of things very, very, very well. Like all of the plot for the game is narrated, and the guy who does it has this really showman voice, which really doesn't fit in the game, but it makes you feel uneasy because it doesn't fit. It's not supposed to be there.
And then he got his oil changed, and then he had open heart surgery.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that level of energy and power, but yeah. Like,
are you a killer? Don't lie now.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
And it's like all of the choices are I am a murderer.
Right, I'm a murderer. Yeah, you get 4 choices and they're all the same. But that, and there's a lot of splash art images too. With it, like, so you always you're not always just looking at the RPG Maker screen. You're all kinds of images that they're showing you, which is super, super cool. But like music is one of the things they do that I'm like a big fan of. It's early on in the game. You happen across this like record player, and there's all these different songs that you have to play to unlock different doors, and they're all really creepy and they're all really weird and they sound really bad and discordant, and just all that atmosphere works really, really well. The game. The ending is absolutely terrible. It ruins it. There's like 8 endings, and they're all bad. I played them all, beat them all. It was like one of the first games I've 100%ed in a long time, but it's absolutely worth the price of free. I would say it's probably worth about $3 or $4 to buy and play. It's a pretty cool little game. And it's interesting, but as it goes on, like it starts really creepy, and then as it goes on, it gets a little bit less so as you start to put the pieces together. Like things become more solid, and that takes away from it. But it's a fun little game.
That was something I appreciated about Ebe was the custom assets. So most of the areas they hid their reliance on tiles very well by making like everything's purple or everything's red or everything's brown, that kind of thing. But when it really mattered, they had, like Ebe would curl into a ball, or Ebe would hug Gary, or Mary would pull out her knife. All these special little animations for when the scenes called for them, which reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy Tactics in that way, because, there's only a couple special animations in that game, but where they're used makes all the difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's a scene where, like, Rams is sitting on a hill, and then he plays, like, a blade of grass as a flute. It's only used in that one scene for 5 seconds, but they knew the scene needed it, and they made it.
Yep, there's that. There's the one scene with him and Argus or Argath or whatever his name became. Like, just when he first shows up, and he just, like, grabs onto you, like, and you're just kind of like, you need to chill out.
Yeah.
But it's just little stuff like that those little touches across all games could be something that every dev could absolutely take to heart, because that's what makes a game.
Exactly.
Is those little touches, which I don't have. So.
All right.
So, Roselle, did you talk about a game?
What?
Did you? Well, what's a horror game you like?
Well, I guess we talked about it a lot already, Ebe, but something about it in particular, I like. Usually in horror games, the thing that actually scares me the most is when there's like some kind of time limit. And so in Ebe, the room where you're playing as Gary and there's all these creepy dolls around, and then this giant one starts coming out at you. That was the scariest part to me, because there's that. Yeah, there's a lot of suspense in that, and you have to kind of run around trying to open up dolls, and so you have to act quickly.
Yeah, that entire sequence was fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember the music. I just remember, like, as the doll, like, came out of the big painting, you hear...
Yeah.
Just absolute full mad panic as you try to get out of there.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say, like, that, like, encroaching danger thing, it tends to be terrifying. Like, even in non-horror games, like spike walls, when you're in an enclosed room and a spike wall is coming towards you, it's, like, super stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like you guys ever play Secret of Mana? Like there's the evil wall, and like if you take out both eyes and it starts closing in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Even plot relevant ones can be creepy and just kind of just panic inducing too, even if they're not scary. Like in Final Fantasy IV, after you beat Cagnazario or whatever the hell they changed his name to, like you go into this little room, and then like the walls just start closing in on you. And there's nothing you can do to stop it until 2 of the characters sacrifice themselves to get you out. But like it's like while you're watching it happen, you're like, I can't do anything. What do I do? Yeah, the panic that comes in there isn't like the same kind of like creepy horror, but it definitely works, especially in horror games for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love timers when they're used sparingly. I think it's Final Fantasy V where like you fight the summons to get them. There's a castle that like gets set on fire, and your first instinct is to escape. Just get the hell out of there. But if you just simply leave, then you miss out on certain treasures, and you miss getting to fight a summon and keep it with you for the rest of the game.
Yep.
Then there's also the escape sequence in FF7 that starts the game, but that's more Hollywood than anything. That's just fun.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Going back to Eve for a second, I like the dolls and how they're used because you see this creepy doll, and yet it's like it's following you through this winding hallway and writing creepy messages on the wall, and it wants you to take it with you and all this stuff, and you're just waiting. You're just waiting for the doll to become relevant. You're just waiting, like, what the hell's this doll up to? What the hell's it gonna do? And I think that tension really, really helps because it's not just that you're trapped in a room with some dolls, it's that this doll has been bugging you for the past hour, and you're just waiting. Like, what the hell do you want? What are you gonna do to me?
Another creepy part of that is the fact that he sees it differently from Ebe. So you're wondering, like, oh, is he crazy or is Ebe crazy? You don't really know.
Yeah, I didn't notice until my wife like was watching over my shoulder and I was playing and she pointed it out. But yeah, the dolls view differently depending on which character you are.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so if I'm understanding correctly, like, Gary sees the creepy-ass dolls, but Ebe, I believe, sees the bunnies?
I believe so. I think that's what... I remember they were different. I don't remember how, but I remember they were different.
Yeah.
But even still, stuff like that, I mean, it's... Again, it goes back, especially for horror games, all those very little touches are what make the game really good and really memorable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think Ebe did best is it always tried to make the state of the environment change. So it wasn't just like, you're going through an RPG Maker game with like the grid and everything is kind of set. You have like a wriggling hand, and the hand's always wriggling and creating movement. Or you have like in an early puzzle where you have to play hide and seek with the painting, and it gives you the wooden fish head. Well, at the top of the room, there's that painting with like the chef's knife and the fish. Once you collect the fish's head, you go back up and you see that the fish's head has been removed from the painting.
Yeah.
I'm watching this scene with the doll coming out of the painting. I've never played the game. That's fucking awful.
Right?
God. Like, oh my god.
Yeah. Ebe is a very, very good horror game. But yeah, just
is Gary his original name?
Probably.
I think so.
Well, it just doesn't seem like a name that would be in a Japanese name or game.
I think it was the rhyming structure because you have Mary, Gary, and Ebe.
How does that rhyme at all?
Well, you're the odd one out. That's kind of the thing as the main character.
Yeah.
Oh. Gary.
Yeah, and if they kept Ebe, like they didn't translate that to Eve, I think maybe they kept Gary as Gary.
It was originally apparently Gary, different name, but Gary.
Could you imagine, like, he's supposed to be Jerry and they got it wrong?
What other... we mentioned Corpse Party earlier when we were just kind of spitballing. That was a game that I actually played after, because a friend of mine was like, we've got to watch this really horrible anime. And I was like, well, what is it? He's like, it's Corpse Party. So that was my introduction to Corpse Party. By the way, the anime is awful. If you say different, you're wrong. But then I went back and played the game, and I found apparently it was like the original Corpse Party was like one of the ones that was made back on like the Dante RPG Maker, like predating RM95.
Damn.
Yeah. So that got me really interested because, I'm the resident old fag that loves all the really old shit, and that's why I'm building a game in RPG Maker 95 because I want to. But anyway, the fact that they were able to take an engine that was, at that time that was that archaic and still do as much as they did with it is absolutely phenomenal. the game itself is really spooky. Basically, for those who don't know, the premise is there's a bunch of friends. One of them is leaving. They do like this little occult, like wish prayer thing with a paper doll, so that they'll always stay together. Only one of them does it wrong, and because they got said in their like some chant in their head, and they did it wrong. So when they break the doll, to all have a piece of it, then instead all of them are like transported to this like otherworldly dead school where there's ghosts and monsters and all that kind of stuff.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You ever see the movie Evil Dead? Like.
Yeah. So that's pretty similar in that. I mean, of course, it's nowhere near a comedy, but just the way that the game plays though is very interesting. Like you've got characters that are like getting possessed and hanging themselves like 30 minutes to an hour in. So like it pretty sets the tone early on that this is not going to be a fun ride. not in the least.
Oh God.
It's pretty interesting just because I think that Corpse Party is one of the first quote-unquote RPG Maker games to actually kind of make it big, and boy has it made it big.
Yeah. They have an anime. Like that's big.
There's one on the PS Vita, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Fate Worse Than Death, I guess, but
was it
yeah.
Danganronpa maybe? Like, because I don't even know what Danganronpa's about. I've heard it's a lot like, I think, Phoenix Wright or something. Like, it's a visual novel.
Kinda. My wife is currently absolutely obsessed with the game. Both of them and the anime. Yeah, kind of, and getting way off topic, but yeah, it's kind of like that in the fact that there are courtroom settings and there are investigations, and the situations that happen are so incredibly contrived that there's no way that would actually happen in any sensible location ever. But it's mostly about the characters, and they're all weird and they're all interesting and they're all drawn very pretty. So that's where most of the fandom comes from, is because, as she put it, pretty much everybody's fuckable in some way or another. But no, it's an interesting series. It's not. I wouldn't call it horror in any real aspect though, because I mean people die in it, but there's a couple. They are killed. Yeah, like there's one scene, and I mean it's mild spoilers, but it's like the first major death. Because everybody dies kind of according to what they are, because they all were attending a school, and they're all like the ultimate something or another. And there's one who's an ultimate baseball star, and he ends up killing somebody, so they find him guilty, and so his punishment, because he dies too, they basically tie him to a pole and like have like one of those like pitcher things that shoot the baseballs out, only super like, I don't know, outfitted, so it's shooting, hundreds of balls per second, and just bludgeon him to death with baseballs.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrible. And there's videos for it, too. Like, as in the game, there's, like, little MVs, so... that's probably the worst one. Yeah, but, I don't know, the games are fun. They look pretty cool.
So they're not spooky so much as macabre.
Yeah, that'd be a good way of putting it.
Okay.
But jumping back to Corpse Party to stay on topic as much as we can. Going kind of back to what we were talking about before, where like the room where you're in in Eve with the dolls, and you've got that panic because you need to find out how to get out. The girl who hangs herself, because you walk in on her like as she's dying, and so you can like try, like you can't, unfortunately, but like it presents options for you to try and save her. Like there's things that you could think that you can do to help, and so then you're panicking, wondering, well, which option is the right one? What's gonna work? What's not gonna work? And so it does. I mean, in the end, she dies anyway. But spoilers. But the fact that they kind of give you that option, that false sense of hope, and then just immediately crush it, top notch. Absolutely loved it.
That's awesome.
Any other RPG Maker horror games that you think are of note, guys?
I'm trying to think.
Have you noticed how like a lot of RPG Maker horror games kind of have very similar looking settings, like as in where they take place?
Yes.
Like there's a lot of haunted school ones.
Well, you got to think about who's making them. It's school kids. They find
No, it
RPG
isn't.
Maker. No?
No, that's not true. The people who make Corpse Party and the other stuff, they're not little kids.
Well, I mean, like high schoolers. Like, they're in school. That's their world. That's what they're used to. So that's, like, the setting that they would prefer.
Or even if not, it's probably the setting still they're most intimately familiar with.
Yeah.
And then there's giant mansions.
Yep.
Giant mansions are always there. What are a few names? There's for the giant mansion, we've got the Witch's House. We've got Mad Father.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We got
Close
Al-Oni.
Close your eyes. Like the last half of the game all take place in one big ass mansion too.
What's another one? Because there's more. I don't know. You get
Spooky's
the
House
point.
of Jump Scares.
Yeah, that's not an RPG Maker one though.
You know, if there's so many that take place in a mansion, have these people ever actually been inside a mansion? I would love to see, like, an architect playing one of these games and going, no, this isn't where you'd put the bathroom.
Right? Something like that. Man, you know, this isn't structurally sound. This wouldn't work
Well,
at
the
all.
thing is, though they take place in mansions, it's usually just like a big house, is how they kind of make them.
Yeah.
Man, I could see that for one of my own houses, like Cody's split level of Doom.
But no, and Al-Oni was mentioned, and there's one, and I've never played it, but I've heard one mechanic mentioned a lot with it. That apparently is really neat. Sometimes, like when you go to the menu, I don't know what it's about. I know there's a demon or a ghost or some shit in it. When you go to the menu, sometimes when you come out, the demon is like in your party, like has taken the place of one of your party members for a minute. And it's just kind of like a quick jump scare.
Oh, that's funny.
Again, never played it, don't know what it's about, but I've heard that a couple times, and that is just a really cool little thing to do. I like meta, fucking with the player. That's why Eternal Darkness is the best like horror game ever.
Do you guys know any RPG Maker games that have like actual full on like sanity effects?
Defeat the Darkness.
That's not a game, Cody.
God. Well, I mean, you try getting told that your world isn't real. Oh my god. But
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like when you're just playing some game and it's like, oh, rpgmaker.exe has stopped working, but then it's like, just kidding.
oh, you're talking like what they did in Batman Arkham Asylum, where like you get hit by Scarecrow's neurotoxin and the game crashes.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. Pony Island, if you guys haven't played, great game too. That's extremely meta, and I love meta shit, as I mentioned. But no, I can't think of any RPG Maker ones that do that. And we went the entire podcast without mentioning it, but I'm gonna have to because Undertale did it.
Yeah.
In the final fight. And
Which one?
Which Undertale?
Well,
No.
the
Which final fight? There's like 5.
well, yeah, no, I'm sorry, the Flowey fight, and then also once you get the ending with Kara, where she just shuts the game
Oh,
down.
Yeah.
And going again off topic, because with Pony Island it was really interesting and neat the way that they spun the meta part, because there's like a hidden optional final boss, but he doesn't like, his whole thing is that he's trapped in the game of Pony Island, and the only way that you can release him is if you delete the game, but you can fight him because he's like, I know that you have to complete everything, and because you have to do like all this other random shit to get to him. And so then he's like, okay, so you knew I was in here. You knew I'm trapped. You know I'm suffering, and you're going around doing all this other shit. Like, seriously? Are you messing with me right now? But anyway, you fight him, and then you beat him, and he's like, well, you beat me. That's the end. I don't do anything else. And he just sits there, and you're just stuck on that screen. You can move around, but like that's the end of the game. It was just a really funny way to spin that. Like, oh, I beat the optional boss. Now what's gonna happen? No, nothing.
Are you satisfied? I mean,
Right.
There you go. God.
So
One of the most horrific meta things I've ever dealt with, and I've probably mentioned it before, I'm going to mention it again, is the Pit of 100 Trials in Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Literally 3 hours of samey bosses to beat another boss, and then I forgot if you even get anything, and then, hey, you're back to the overworld, great job. It's like, wow. I really just blew 3 hours on that.
got nothing.
That is an existential type of horror. Like, dear God, I could have gone outside. I could have had a nice meal at Applebee's. I could have found a wife and had 2 beautiful children eventually.
Ha!
But no, instead I went to the pit of 100 trials.
Mm-hmm.
I would really like to see, especially in the horror genre, that kind of thing, because it's kind of starting to become a thing with the meta aspect of it a lot. I'm starting to see it more in other games, so seeing it in an RPG Maker game would be very interesting.
Yeah.
There is one game where you have to like restart it to progress through the plot. It's an RPG Maker game called Hello Hello. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. I've never played it.
Mm. Yeah.
I didn't know it was a horror game.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to add that to my list. But that's stuff like that's super cool. I like that. I like it.
Yeah.
If I knew how to code it and add it in, I would absolutely do so. But I'm not because I'm bad.
Do you think that people are going to become more genre savvy as time moves on, and the meta stuff will have to become even more meta for it to matter?
No.
that was a quick answer.
Oh,
No, because people will die.
yeah. Well, Carb, we've come quite a long way in just the past, 80 years with like Frankenstein and Dracula silent films, and now we have to outdo those. And we had Scream like 20 years ago, and
Well, here's the thing. I mean, like, yeah, and you know who died? Frankenstein.
yeah. But what I mean is like those old horror creatures played on usually humanity's deepest fears. There was usually something like hiding underneath, but like modern horror is less about those instincts and is far more cerebral. Do you think?
Really? I
Oh.
wouldn't say that. I mean, I'd say some modern horror, and that's why I say people will die and more genre unsavvy people will be born. Because like, look at the state of the horror film industry. It's mainly just like big scary man go boo. So I'd say, like, and you look back at, like, the older, like, Dracula stuff, and it's, like, a lot of it is pretty cerebral-based and a lot slower than just, and then a bunch of things jump out, go boo.
Yeah, but that's more building tension. When you have a meta-narrative, there are expectations, Your audience already knows about X gimmick and Y gimmick and all these other things, so you have to try and outsmart them while also scaring them. Whereas with the older films, they moved at a much slower pace, and that allowed them to build tension. Kind of like the dolls in Eve. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where this is going, and because they hang on the scenes for so long, you get more frightened.
Yeah, it kind of depends too, because a lot of the core concepts of horror, still haven't really changed a lot. It's just kind of how, because the move from like not meta to meta is basically like, it's more you're not watching somebody else have something happen to them. Now something is happening to you. It affects you personally, and so I don't really think, as long as people stay creative with it, I don't think we're going to have to see it to get more like ridiculous and more over the top and more, deleting your hard drive kind of
Have
meta.
one where a gun literally comes out of the screen and shoots whoever's playing it.
Yeah.
Got him.
Got
him
him.
good.
But because like in Pony Island again, there's a boss that you fight. And while you're playing it, you have to watch him very, very carefully on what he does. And then at one point in the bottom right corner, your Steam message window opens up, and it's playing like somebody randomly from your contact list is messaging you. So if you try to shift tab out to see what the hell is going on, then you lose from fighting it.
Well,
So-
yeah, you miss. There's a guy telling you, or a demon telling you to pay attention,
Mhm.
and if you do that, then he's like, you didn't pay attention, or he asks you what he said during that time.
Yep. And it very, very directly meta. That was like one of the best scenes in the game, but just stuff like that. As long as people stay creative with it, even if they do it differently or similarly, I think it would still work. I don't think we would need to see it necessarily blossom into something even more, because it's been around since, and it might have been, this is the first game that I can think of that did it, was Earthbound, where you put in your name at one point and they directly reference you at the end of it. It was very minor, but it was still there. And that's something that no other game had done, to my knowledge, up until that point.
Yeah, it has you start praying to kill Gygus at the end.
Yep, at the very end. I think that's the last one.
Yeah.
You would be, though, too. Like, just fucking work.
Right? So, yeah, it absolutely works. And, I mean, it's a really minor thing. Again, not really a horror game. Still an RPG, kind of in the same genre, but...
I don't know. I mean, like, that whole ending kind of comes out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah. Earthbound is like... Imagine, like, the Scott Pilgrim movie, but it doesn't kick into Scott Pilgrim mode until the, like, final 2% of the game, and then it's like, holy fuck.
Yeah. That's a pretty accurate way of putting it, too.
Yeah.
But the original Mother was like that, too. Because you're kind of just adventuring around doing some stuff, and then, like, at the end of the game, you're riding a giant robot up a mountain into a volcano to fight against, the end boss. And it's like, oh, okay, I don't know where this came from or why it's happening, but okay.
Guess this is my life now.
Just piloting robots, climbing mountains.
Yeah, fighting extremely powerful enemies because they didn't test the last end of the encounter, so everything is way too fucking hard.
Man, it sounds like horror really comes down to execution, because if you execute, very well early in the game, you set up the player's expectations, they know what they think they're supposed to be looking for, and you give yourself the room to subvert those expectations later.
Yep. Absolutely. You establish the rules and then you break the rules. Because you can do that because you are making it, and the player has to then try and adapt, and then their understanding of that world is now broken, and that incites fear, because kind of like Yume Nikki, it's kind of surreal in that way, because what you expect to happen isn't happening.
Yeah, there's a couple small nuggets to test your sanity, though.
Yes. So, no, the execution is absolutely one of the most important things. I mean, especially in horror, but across all games too, because I can be real happy playing just any RPG Maker game, to be honest, because I just enjoy turn-based combat, as simple as it is. So the game doesn't have to be great for me to enjoy it, unless you're Destiny Warriors, in which case you're awful. Don't. Wait, let me make sure I'm not bashing the wrong game real quick. It might not be.
Because I think you said Last Heroes earlier.
Yeah, I did say Last Heroes. Last Heroes is not that. Destiny Warriors is the one. When I went to buy it originally, it was like moderately positive, and I was like, okay, cool, I can deal with a moderately positive, and now it's like bottom of the barrel negative, with apparently a bunch of paid reviews. So that's interesting.
Who in their right mind is buying reviews for an RPG Maker game?
Right?
Like, if you have the kind of budget for paid reviews, you could, get a proper coder and an artist and, make something really amazing. But no, you... God damn.
Yeah. No, it's horror in that it's absolutely horrible.
Well, that is one way to subvert expectations. We have all this money. Are we going to put it into the game? Hell no. We're just going to have people shill it for us.
Right? But yeah, it's just it's bad. It's bad in every. I'm gonna keep playing it. I'm gonna play it all the way through because not a quitter. But
I'm gonna get my money's worth. Damn it.
Yeah. At least it's not fucking Skyborn, where the game is really well, not really well presented, but it's well presented. It's got a lot of custom assets. It's an interesting story for the most part, but then you get to this one boss who comes out of nowhere and is like two-shotting my entire party. And that's where I'm supposed to go. I checked. No, you just need to like grind for like an hour or 2 or 3 before you can beat him. And I'm not about that life. So I'm done playing it.
That's fucking
I ain't got time for that. Yeah. That's bad game design. Whoever's listening out here, don't do that. Okay? That's bad game design. That makes your players frustrated. That's not what you want.
Can you hear it in his voice, future aspiring devs? One day, we will have a proper grinding episode, and we will address that, because I hate that, too.
No, but we have the Gaiden. That was good enough.
We'll make Gaiden 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But until then, are we good on horror games?
Yeah.
Any other?
I mean, I have Suits, but I haven't played it. I don't know if it's in the same realm as
Oh
Destiny.
no.
It's so absolutely terrible.
No, I feel somewhat bad for talking down to Suits. It's just there's certain parts about that game that make me a bit like there's a part where the batter from Off appears in it, and it just straight up shows up, and he's a boss, like a required boss. And
not even like an optional. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like he's a required boss called the Batter, like straight up. He's there to fight ghosts, and you kill him, and he's like, he basically dies saying that, I'm paraphrasing it, he's basically like, oh, I guess Suits is a better game than Off.
Jeez.
It's full of a lot of stuff like that. I think they patched it out, but I'm pretty sure on the release version, there was a boss that like straight up used the Space Jam theme as its boss fight.
So going meta in a very, very wrong, very, very wrong way.
Well, it was just like, okay, because the game is meant to be comedic, but I feel for every good joke it has about like 10 bad ones. Like, the whole thing is about making fun of like about shit in capitalism, but it doesn't take itself seriously enough to really do that good enough to make it as a nice critique. But there are some parts where I think it's funny, like you go to a courthouse, and it's just like due to a vague legal document, all courthouses are required to have at least 2 basketball courts in them. Which I find that funny, just because it's just a stupid little joke. But then suddenly, the basketball comes to life and the Space Jam theme starts playing, and it's like,
Gotcha.
you ruined it, you blew it.
Right. You had it, you had me, and then you ruined it. But yeah, because I heard about the Batter. I heard about Mortis as a boss in there too.
Yeah, Mortis Ghost is a boss in it.
Yeah. But it seems to be inspired by Off, so I guess poking fun is okay if it was a fan game. But
it felt like they maybe didn't want it to be seen as Off, and someone during the development cycle was like, "This is way too much like Off," and they got angry about it.
That might be.
So they're like, "Oh no, it's a better game."
Oh, so they changed the tone of the game halfway through? The way you guys described it sounds like Suicide Squad, where the director shot one thing and then the trailer company made something else out of it.
I don't know, possibly.
I've never played Suits, so Carb has more info than I do, because I bought it because it was on sale, and I was like, oh, this looks like Off. I liked Off. Maybe I'll like this, and then I never got around to playing it.
Yeah, there's a part where it's like you're in these slums. It has a very stupid, lol so random kind of humor.
Oh.
Gotcha.
Like there's this part where you're in these slums and you're walking around and you're just kind of going from building to building. You're fighting loan sharks, which are literal sharks. But you go inside the building and there's just like bag of shit on the floor, and you go and you look at it, and then it literally goes, "Open the door, get on the floor. Everybody walk the dinosaur." And then a velociraptor shows up, and you have to fight it, and while someone screams over and over, "Dinosaur, dinosaur, dinosaur, dinosaur," for like 2 minutes straight.
Okay, so who here has seen the trailer for Zootopia?
I've seen the trailer,
seen
not
the movie.
any of the movie. I've never seen the movie, though.
Okay, so seeing the trailer where they're at the DMV and the sloth, and it takes like forever. That's really, really funny in the trailer. But once you know what's coming and you see this 8-minute sequence in the movie, it's really grating and boring. And that's
Yeah, I can see that.
and that's what like that dinosaur thing would be funny the first time, but every other time it'd be like, no, how do I skip this? How the hell do I get past it?
Yeah. I think that's an optional boss of all things. Like
That's
rather
good, at
than the
least.
yeah. Oh, also the game gives you like an achievement every 5 seconds. Like, to the point where it's pretty annoying.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of achievements. Okay. But yeah, I mean, okay. Trying to get back on topic. Off has some surreal stuff. I wouldn't call it horror. It's kind of surreal. All right. Anyway, next.
I played Ebe, and I've just about said everything I can about Ebe. But if we go back to like old school horror games, back in like first, second grade, my friend across the street had the Alone in the Dark trilogy. So my first introduction to horror games was Alone in the Dark, with all the, characters made of probably 30 polygons, and you controlled like a literal tank.
Yeah, which
Oh, yeah,
wasn't so much scary as it was just frustrating trying to manipulate anything.
Yeah.
Also, there's a part in Suits where you go to YouTube headquarters and you fight a whole bunch of like Markiplier and PewDiePie.
Maybe I won't play. No, I bought it. I'll play it.
It's
no,
only 60 cents, I think. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
not being set back that much.
Yeah. I think Ebe did a good job of being modern about it because, everyone has that expectation of having solid controls. So for Ebe, it's like, okay, we'll make sure that you're fast and responsive, but so will the enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's Galaxian versus Galaga, because Galaxian, you move like a tank, the enemies move like a tank, you can fire one bullet, in Galaga, like everything's sped up, but mostly the enemies.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. That's a pretty accurate way to describe it. Yeah. Well, usually when you have just and I think the best use of chase scenes too, because Eve had a couple, and Close Your Eyes had a couple, and everything is when they come out of nowhere. Like the brooding horror, kind of like hinting at it, but don't like have something coming down the hall toward you, and then you have like time to see it, time to react. My favorite ones is like when you're like going somewhere and then like a door slams open and there's something there and you've got to go.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. Like the music just kicks in and you're like, oh shit, what is going on? I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die right here.
Yeah, Eve did that perfectly. Like there's only a couple times where like the lady in the painting just jumps out and it's go time. And
Yep.
then there's 2 instances in the game where suddenly everything in the room is moving around and wants to kill you, and you gotta wiggle through all of it and escape. And the second time, you only have 1 HP. Like, it is nuts.
Yeah, if for horror stuff especially, and what's interesting too is like games like Eve and the others that we've gone over. These games have been out for a little while, and even then they still aged pretty well. A lot of like semi-modern horror games, like my friend for Anime Convention here a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh dude, we gotta play Clock Tower 3. Game's fucking scary. Play Clock Tower 3, game is not scary. I'm like, man, my 13-year-old self is a fucking liar. And so it didn't translate well. I mean, it was kind of silly almost, like, because it was so cheesy, but man, back then it was. But the horror that's in a lot of these RPG Maker games is still tried and tested enough that I got spooked. I'm like, well, I'm 30 now, so I'm an old man. Still got spooked.
I'm a couple years behind you, and there were times in Ebe where I'm going, and Ebe had a great balance, too. Like, the Twilight Zone specifically isn't horror, but it always makes you think. And it was funny, like, watching some YouTube videos about Ebe, and especially, like, the guide to the endings, because I only got one ending, and it was where I saved Gary, but we didn't have max relationship or whatever. But
Right.
there's also an ending where Gary dies, and Mary instead goes with Ebe, and, like, there's an ending where Mary goes back to the real world by herself and then gets told that she's not allowed to leave, and, things just start going darker and darker and darker until the screen goes to black. And then there's also the one where Mary comes with Eve, and then the parents just accept her as their other daughter, despite having a completely different hair color, as if the wife cheated or something, but everyone's okay with it.
So, well, okay, that brings me, I guess, one other topic then, because so far it seems like it happens in a number of games. Are multiple endings a thing that horror games should have? Because Eve had it, Corpse Party had it, Close Your Eyes had it. Is it because they can't decide on how they want their game to end, or they want their players to be able to find a better ending, or whichever one that they want? Is that just attempt to add replay value?
I think that the multiple endings works well for horror because it helps put weight on the character's decisions, and especially since nearly everyone, when they play a horror game for the first time, they don't make decisions out of reason, they make them out of instinct, and for your piss-poor instincts to be punished makes it even more impactful. Right.
Okay, I can dig it. That's a fair point. Yeah, because you're not really reacting because you are reacting rather than being proactive because you don't know what's coming. You don't know how to deal with stuff as it comes in. So yeah, that makes sense that your decisions do have more weight as you go.
Yeah, and you can always question yourself, like, is this the right choice? And you'll never know until you look up a guide. But like, why are you doing your first playthrough with a guide? You fucking idiot!
Right?
It's cheating.
It is
You're
cheating.
A cheater. You're a liar.
Yeah.
You're a stealer.
Like Suikoden 2, that's gonna take 50 hours. Bring a guide. Off? Like, I don't know how long off is, but it ain't 50 hours.
No.
So you can probably beat in like 4 hours.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing. There's only one point I think that I got actually stuck, and I had to look up a guide for it because I could not figure out what the hell they wanted for an answer.
Which was it?
The three pictures that were like all in Spanish, or the posters or whatever they were. Like I could not figure out what the hell they were asking for on one of the questions. You have to get them all right to get through, and I don't think they ever tell you which one you got wrong. So
yeah. One or more of your answers was incorrect.
Yeah.
They say
so that. Yeah. So basically, then I eventually looked up a guide there. That was the only part I got stuck on. But yeah, no, most times, unless I am absolutely at my wit's end, I don't even touch guides for any game unless I've beaten it once. Because there's no that ruins the game. It's the same reason why supposedly the decks for Sun and Moon has been released. I'm not looking at it. I don't want to know because I want to enjoy the game, and because that spoiled Smash U for me, is they revealed all the characters that were going to be in it, and I didn't have anything to look forward to while I was playing it, so. Yeah.
It didn't help that, like, all the new blood was unlocked right away to, like, fucking Mega Man? Oh my god!
Right. I mean, it was cool that he was in it. I like him a lot, but I had nothing, like, I didn't know. Because, like, like the original, when you unlock Ness on the 64 version, you're like, oh shit. Oh, like just absolute hype factor, but I didn't have any of that with Smash U. So I played it for, I don't know, a week or two. I don't think I've ever touched it since then.
Oh, man.
So.
I think that was Nintendo's way to get...
It's fucking Mega Man!
Save the world, Mega Man! I think that was Nintendo's way to get ahead of the narrative, because, we had this talk with, like, the puzzles episode, last time, is you can Google anything. And with Nintendo, like, Nintendo doesn't want you to hear it from anyone else that Mega Man's in the game. Nintendo wants you to hear it from Nintendo. So they're like, fuck it, we're just going to get ahead of this, and we're just going to say it so that we can take all the credit for the hype, as opposed to, people finding out for themselves. Like, rumors can't spread like they could back in the late 90s, because anyone can just look it up now.
Yeah, that's true.
You know how many dads no longer worked at Nintendo after Google got popular?
It's true. Unfortunately, the mass firing of all the mystery dads. But no, that's absolutely true, and it's one thing that I absolutely detest, and it's why I don't watch YouTubers for the most part, because I want to play the game. I want to experience the game. I don't want to see it by proxy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's heavy and off topic.
Yeah. I think that's enough.
All right, Roselle, you got anything to add before we wrap this baby?
I don't think so.
Cool.
All right, well, this has been the RPG Maker General podcast for our special Halloween episode special. This is Cody. Thank you all for listening.
This is Red Mage. Stay spooky out there.
This is Carbonic. Pumpkin season.
This is Roselle. Bye.